The Grumpy Old Ox, written by Anthony DeStefano, illustrated by Richard Cowdrey. There once was an ox, grumpy and old, blind as a bat, selfish and cold. Prideful and lame, with tired old bones, he lived in a stable, depressed and alone. Without any family and no friends in sight, he stayed by himself from morning till night. His master, like him, was stubborn and vain. He owned a small inn where visitors came. He gave the ox orders, the ox disobeyed. Defiant and willful, he wasn't afraid. The man took a broom and with a loud smack, he gave the old ox a whack on his back. "You lazy and sightless and smelly old brute," the innkeeper shouted and kicked with his boot. The ox simply sneered and grumbled with pride. He limped to the stable and lay down inside. The stable was dark, but he didn't mind. He stayed there alone, just bitter and blind. Then, one black night, a door opened wide. A man and a woman were standing outside. The owner was with them. He said with a grin, "You'll have to stay here, no room at my inn." The ox strained his eyes, attempting to see. He barely detected the forms of all three. The lady was pregnant and heavy with child. The man held her hand and tenderly smiled. He put a small blanket on top of the dirt. The woman lay down, about to give birth. The innkeeper left them all cold and alone, without any food and so far from home. But something odd happened that memorable night, something that gave the ox quite a fright. A shutter flew open, and in flooded light. A star in the heavens was dazzlingly bright. It made the small stable feel pleasant and warm. In this simple setting, the child was born. Strange as it seems, the ox became sad because the young family was treated so bad. "I'm all by myself," the grumpy ox sighed. "The reason is that I'm so full of pride. But this little babe, so humble and poor, is guiltless and precious and perfect and pure." Just at that moment, he had an idea. He struggled to stand and limped over near the manger he ate from, all filled up with straw, and pulled it across the cold stable floor. He looked at the woman. In ox talk, he said, "Take my straw manger for your baby's bed." He limped to the pail from which he drank water. He picked up the handle and carried it toward her. He put the pail down and said with a bow, "Wash him with this. I'm not thirsty right now." The lady just smiled and patted his head. She understood somehow the things that he said. She bathed her small baby and dressed him in white. He slept in the manger throughout the cold night. Soon shepherds came in, along with their sheep. They knelt by the crib and watched the babe sleep. A donkey and camel came through the door. They walked very slowly and knelt on the floor. 3 figures followed. Each wore a crown, each bearing gifts, each kneeling down. "What can be happening? Who can this be?" The grumpy ox squinted. "I wish I could see." He strained with his eyes and thought for a while, then looked at the child and started to smile. "This baby is special, sent down from above. Yes, that's why this stable is so filled with love. That's why these people are worshiping him. He must be from God. He must be a king. The rest of the night, he knelt on the earth next to the feet of the girl who gave birth. The family soon left to find a new home. With everyone gone, the ox was alone. He thought of the babe, so loved and adored, while he, the old ox, was shunned and ignored. I'll try to be different, the grumpy ox swore. I won't be so prideful or mean anymore. He walked to the manger. His hunger was great. He stuck his head in and rapidly ate. Then he felt thirsty and looked over where the babe had been bathed in the bucket with care. He drank from the pail until he was done, and soon fell asleep outside in the sun. He slept and he slept and he slept through the night. He rose with the dawn and the soft golden light. But when he awoke and opened his eyes, the ox was amazed by a wondrous surprise. He looked all around, and what did he find? He couldn't believe he no longer was blind. The hillside, the village, the stable, the tree, all that he gazed at was plain as could be. He rubbed both his eyes, then rubbed them again. Now he saw donkeys and camels and men. All that was blurry was now crystal clear. Even the mountains appeared very near. He got to his feet and walked through the field. His leg was all better. His limp had been healed. He ran to the stable and danced through the door. He didn't feel grumpy or old anymore. The ox was so grateful he started to sing. It must be a gift from the king. The baby from heaven, it just has to be. I drank from the water and now I feel free. I ate from the manger and now I can see. He started to cry and shouted with glee. I can see, at last I can see.
This is Janet Moreno, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. And of course, we are I know it's still Advent, okay, obviously, but we're getting geared up for Christmas. I know everyone is. Everyone's decorating. You can see I have my little Christmas tree behind us here in the studio. And of course, here at Priests for Life headquarters, we've put up our Christmas decorations. And that beautiful, beautiful story you just heard, The Grumpy Old Ox, was written by someone who Father Frank and I know really well. His name is Anthony DeStefano, and he has known Father Frank and I for over 30 years. Imagine, Anthony DeStefano and I assisted Father Frank in the very, very early days of his priesthood when he first was ordained and came to Staten Island, New York, to St. Charles Parish, and then we came on to keep helping him with Priests for Life. And to this day, Anthony is still part of the team, and we're so grateful to have him. But we're going to have a chance to chat with him right now about his current book and some of his other books. And if you have a question for this wonderful author, please, come on. I want to hear your questions. So right now, let's welcome Anthony DeStefano to our program. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Janet.
And of course, I have
my copy. Remind me how old I am when you talk about how long we've been working together.
I know. Well, of course, I have my copy of The Grumpy Old Ox, which I'm giving copies for Christmas to my grandchildren, both on the East Coast and the West Coast. It makes a beautiful, beautiful gift, really does. But let's tell our audience a little bit about, your very first children's book was Little Star, correct?
Well, I wrote that first. I wrote that book back in high school many, many, many years ago, but it sat in a drawer for decades because no one would publish it. But the first book that was actually published, the first children's book that was actually published, was something called This Little Prayer of Mine, which was loosely based on an adult book that I wrote called 10 Prayers God Always Says Yes to.
Right.
So
now
the second published book was Little Star.
Right. And your first adult book was Travel Guide to Heaven, wasn't it?
That's correct. Back in 2003. Can you imagine all those years ago?
Wow. And of course, of all your children's book, I think Little Star is my absolute favorite. But this Grumpy Old Ox, I think, you know something? Right now, there's a lot of people, I think, because of COVID and everything, being grumpy oxes, aren't they? Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, I don't think we need COVID to have grumpiness in our society. That's for sure.
No, we don't. But
Little kids can be grumpy, and when they don't get what they want. And I know that us adults, as we get older, we have a tendency to get more grumpy. At least I do. Maybe you don't, Janet, but I think the rest of us do.
So just tell our viewers, how do you get an idea for a book? You know, what for the Grumpy Ox, what caused you to come up with this idea?
You know, first of all, it starts with you have to have a strong desire to want to write something and to come up with something creative. And when you have a strong desire, then your antenna is always up. You're always looking, even when you're not purposely, explicitly looking. You're looking subconsciously. So when, say, I read the Bible and in the book of Isaiah, you know, you run across a passage about how about the ox and the donkey in the manger, near the manger. And that's the basis on which we think that an ox and a donkey were present in the stable when Jesus was born. And just seeing that passage in Isaiah gave me the idea, well, maybe there's a children's book in there. What can we say about this ox? I've written about donkeys before and the donkey that no one could ride, but I've never written about an ox. So I thought maybe there's a story there, and that got my mind working. But so I got the inspiration from reading the Bible. But really, the reason why I got the inspiration was because I wanted to write something, and I was looking for something even when I wasn't looking.
I see. All right. Well, that's a good thing. Well, first of all, with the Grumpy Ox, all your children's books, the illustrations, I mean, they're just gorgeous. Look at this. What can you say? How did you find this illustrated? Because really, the pictures just draw. I mean, I've read all your children's books to my grandchildren, and they're just so gravitated to the illustrations, besides listening to Nana's words. So how did you find this wonderful illustrator?
Well, first of all, I believe that since Christian books are about the greatest story ever told, Jesus Christ, and our salvation, why shouldn't they have the best illustrations? Why shouldn't they have, Walt Disney caliber illustrations? Many times, unfortunately, the level of the quality of Christian children's books and Catholic children's books are just not they're not up to par. So I've always wanted to get the very best. So when I started writing children's books, I did a search for who was the best. And when it came to animals, portraying animals, I found this gentleman named Richard Cowdery, who is a New York Times best-selling artist. He's done many mega million-selling books. And I thought, he's the best in the world at animals, and I want to get him. He portrays animals' expressions and features, makes them almost human. And after all, even though these books are about humans, these books are about animals, they're really, truly down deep about human beings. So I wanted to get him because he was the best.
That's great. That's great. Well, I want to remind our viewers, if you would like to get a copy of the Grumpy Old Ox, you can just go to prolifeproducts.org. I do believe, Anthony, we have the last few before Christmas here at Priest for Life to ship out. I know Amazon is out of them, right? What's the story with this?
No, Amazon has a few left, but the publisher has to do a special printing now just in the next week to get them in because the demand has been so high. Been very blessed.
Well, here, the lady is writing here. Tracy Kirk writes, "Thank you for sharing your gift. My son loves your books, all your books, Anthony."
Well, that's great. I tell publishers, kids are the only acquisitions committee I ever care about. If the kids like the book, I'm happy.
So again, prolifeproducts.org. You can get the Grumpy Ox. Our staff will get it out to you in time for Christmas. And I'm sure, like I'm going to do for my grandchildren, you're going to want to read this book during the Christmas. And by the way, Christmas is a whole season. Right, Anthony? I'm sure you're going to say something about this, how some people, a couple of days after Christmas, are taking down the tree, right?
Oh, no. Why not? Celebrate right to the little Christmas and the whole season of Christmas.
Right.
You should,
I also, Anthony, want to ask
as long as possible.
I'm going to ask you about another creation of yours, The Wonder of Life. All right. And these are beautiful, I guess you call them gift books. Is that the proper title,
Yeah,
Anthony? Gift books?
they're gift books. In other words, you give these books as gifts to people. Most of the times you give them to gifts when someone is feeling a little bit down or sad
Right.
or afraid. And a book like this is very easy to read. It's quick, and the purpose of it is to cheer a person up, to give a person just a shot of energy, a shot of cheerfulness. And these books happen to be for adults, but they employ pictures of children. And so they're very adorable, cute pictures of children, but they have very deep messages for adults. But the whole purpose is to give them as a gift to someone and cheer that person up.
Well, this one here, I just can't take it anymore. Encouragement when life gets you down. And so, Anthony, this one, I think, like I said, a lot of people now with the COVID numbers going up, California, New York, they're starting to shut everything down again. And I think people are just getting, very upset about that. So this is a kind of a funny way, I think, to kind of get your mind going about, is it really that bad? And look how beautiful everybody, the pictures are, and there's phrases under each and every book. And then I like this one. Why am I here anyway? The simple answer to life's biggest question. Look at that baby.
Yeah, it's about destiny, your person's destiny. Everyone has unique destiny. Every person, we know this in the pro-life world, every baby is unique, precious, and unrepeatable. Every human being is unique, precious, and unrepeatable. We all have a mission from God that only we can accomplish.
And I just happened to flip to this one, Anthony. This is a perfect pro-life one. Little girl says, you might invent something that transforms the world, or maybe have a son or daughter who will. There's a pro-life statement, right?
Yeah. Yeah, each of the book has text that takes a reader through the question at the beginning, like, why am I here anyway? Or, I just can't take it anymore. What do I do? And takes them through, the reasons to, the answer to that question.
All right, here's another one.
Simple, but it's actually quite deep.
Oh, they are. Okay, I admit it, I'm afraid. Finding the courage to overcome life's problems.
Well, fear is the biggest problem everyone faces. We're afraid for everything, for our families, for our health, for our bills and financial problems. That most of all, people are afraid that they don't have what it takes to overcome the problems they face, that they're not strong enough or smart enough. And that book addresses that question, that we do have the ability if we plug into the power source of the universe, God.
Well, I can tell you, a lot of people, I could have given away copies of this book on my plane yesterday, flying back from Atlanta to Orlando. I was at EWTN, So picture this, and I know everybody doesn't know this about you. He's also a pilot, all right? For sport, you fly planes, right? So Anthony, we're on the plane, and we are almost on the runway. And I mean, I see the tarmac out the window of the plane. Maybe we're 25 feet from, I'm getting ready to hear the thud. And all of a sudden the engines roar up and we go up and circle around and come back down, right? So the pilot tells us, we got a signal. There was some wind shear, an anomaly. So we had to take the plane back up again. I have never in all the years I've been flying experienced that.
Janet, it's very safe. No one should ever be afraid. It's called a go around, and it's done for safety reasons. When the pilot feels that it's a little bit dangerous, he goes around and make sure it's done right. It's
and so this book, okay, I admit it, I'm afraid. A lot of people on that plane yesterday were frightened. I could have been giving them out copies of this. It would have relieved that extra 10, 15 minutes it took us to go around, All right, and then this one here, Anthony, I want you to comment on this one, because I know you dedicated this book to your beautiful wife, Jordan. So tell us about the love book.
The love book. Actually, I got that idea from, of course, Father Frank. I get all my ideas from Father Frank practically, because in one of his homilies, or in many of his homilies, he talks about how love is the most abused, confused, and misused word in the English language. Everybody thinks they know what love is. That it's not mushy feelings. It's not infatuation. It's not just kindness. Love is sacrifice, self-giving sacrifice, the kind of love that Christ showed for us by giving every drop of his blood for us. That's what love is, and that's the kind of love that's the strongest force in the universe. So I wanted to write a little book that explained that fact, that told people what love really is.
That's great. And then the final and fifth one, I think that's your newest gift book, right? The last one you wrote, All This and Heaven Too, Thanking God for the Gift of Life.
Yeah, that's a book about gratitude. We need to be appreciative and grateful for all the blessings we have. So many people aren't. So many people in today's society feel entitled and spoiled, and so this book, that gift book, actually goes in line with the Grumpy Old Ox quite a bit, because their themes are similar. That we need to be humble and appreciative.
Look how pretty the pictures are in here, and it just reminds me, everyone, of all the things we should be grateful for. It's a great book. Do you know my little grandchildren out in California? I always bring them out every time you have a new gift book out. And even though they're too little to read the words, they're so gravitated to the pictures. They will sit here and they'll flip through the book, even when no one's around to read it to them, and they'll just look at the pictures.
Janet, there is someone once said that there is a line that goes directly from the eyes to the heart and does not pass through the brain. It goes straight from the eyes to the heart. In other words, you can learn something, you can understand, you can feel something and know something without necessarily analyzing and understanding it. And that's what pictures do. And in the same way, there's a direct line from the ear to the heart that doesn't go through the mind. And that's why music is so powerful.
Well, and then you created this beautiful, beautiful case for these books. In fact, this is available only at Priest for Life.
Just Priest for Life. The
Can't find it on Amazon, anyone else.
That's right. The publisher gave me permission just to make a box set of all those gift books just for Priest for Life. So it's not available on Amazon. It's not available from the publisher. It's only available at Priest for Life.
And, we have just enough time, Anthony, just like squeak through now. If people go to prolifeproducts.org and order a set, you can get it out. In fact, I bought some sets, and what I'm doing it with these are some people that I can't get to for Christmas because of COVID. I'm not going to see them. I'm wrapping them up and shipping it to them because it's a great little gift for like a whole family to have as their family library, right?
Well, it's nice. I found with gift books, when you're not feeling so good, or you're a little depressed, you're down, you just pull one off the shelf, you open it up, you read a few pages, and pow, you're in a better mood. So that's why I wrote those books. And I think if you have all 5 of them, then there's a good chance it's going to address one of the problems that you're facing, whether it's fear or loneliness.
And it's with a family, there's a bound to be at least everybody to have one of the problems in here. That's,
Unfortunately, that is usually the case.
Yeah. So again, brothers and sisters, it's The Wonder of Life, available at prolifeproducts.org. We have the Grumpy Ox, okay? And because tomorrow, as you know, Anthony, is a great pro-life feast, right?
Yep.
Our Lady of Guadalupe. Well, I have to just show off. This is by far, I think, the most beautiful of all. I mean, all of your books, like I said, the pictures, the illustrations are magnificent. This one was not done by Richard Caldry, the Our Lady's Wardrobe. It was done by
Juliana Kolesova. Juliana Kolesova. She's a Russian artist who lives in Canada. And I picked her just because she specializes in realistic pictures. And because Mary is real and heaven is real, I wanted to have illustrations that demonstrate that truth, that she's really alive right now in heaven, breathing with her glorified body, as the doctrine of the Assumption teaches us.
So now tell our viewers a little. I'm going to show them Our Lady of Guadalupe, being her feast is tomorrow. But tell them this title, Our Lady's Wardrobe, and why you created this book.
I just thought that, whenever Our Lady has appeared throughout the centuries in these well-known apparitions, she's always wearing something beautiful. She's so different than all the male saints in history who always seem to be wearing the same dull, brown, drab robes. Our Lady, like a true woman, is always dressed wonderfully, and she has got all these great accessories and crowns. And I just thought, wouldn't it be a nice way to introduce children to Our Lady? By showing them these apparitions and these colorful pictures. And also, it would introduce them to what Our Lady's mission is, which is to lead people to her Son, Jesus Christ.
And look at this picture. This is the picture that you have, like up in heaven. Our Lady has her wardrobe, and then she selects something from her wardrobe when she comes to earth to appear to us, like here with Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I mean, there's so many images here of Our Lady in this book. It's so beautiful. There's Our Lady of Mount Carmel. There's just so many of them. Our Lady of Knock. I mean, look at this one, Our Lady of Knock from Ireland. So beautiful. And this book too is available at Priest for Life at prolifeproducts.org. So if you have that last minute gift ideas, we have, like I said, the Grumpy Ox, Our Lady's Wardrobe, and The Wonder of Life. And
That book's been so popular, actually, that we're doing a sequel to it called Our Lady's Picture Book, which will be coming out Easter time. But it really has, it's been a much bigger bestseller than anyone thought it would be.
Well, I tell you, I mean, any child could read it, a boy or a girl, but I think especially for little girls. What I like about the book is it introduces you to our Blessed Mother in all these instances that a child can understand. Because sometimes, when kids hear about their parents talking about all these, oh, this is the feast of this, and this is the feast of that, I think sometimes it's a little confusing to kids. They're wondering, what's all this about the Blessed Mother? So this is a really nice way for a parent to read it to their child and introduce them to all the different apparitions that our Blessed Mother has made to us on earth.
Well, thank you for saying it, Janet. You're always so kind about my books. I appreciate it.
Okay, and then one final quick thing before you have to go. Remember, I said at the beginning that you and I and Father have known each other about 30 years. So
More.
I want more, actually, yes. 32, I think it is. So when Father Frank first came to Staten Island, New York, to our parish, there was back then we just had Staten Island cable. Remember, everything was
Staten Island Community Television. Yes.
Right. Community television, right. And everything was just getting going. And you and Father had an idea to put Father Frank on our local cable, right?
Yes.
And I remember you took a course
I
to
did.
qualify.
I learned how to work a video camera. And my father, rest in peace, he set up a little makeshift studio in my brother's bedroom. My brother, who now is a priest, Father Sal DeStefano, he's a priest, but back then he just was a little kid, and he had his own room. And we put up a little set in the back. It was really cheap, and my cousin came in with and helped me with the video camera. And that was the very first time that Father Frank was on television on a show called Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening.
Servant's listening, right.
Yeah.
And when you think about Father Frank back then, Anthony, tell them honestly, remember how the trouble you guys had to get him to look into the camera, right?
He did at the very, very beginning, he looked down a little bit, but once he got the hang of it, and he pictures, he told me he pictures 1 million people inside the camera lens. That's how he learned how to do that. Once he did, he never looked back. And of course, he's the greatest in the world now at that.
Well, and so if people want to know, how did Father Frank get started in TV and video and all that? Anthony DeStefano is the culprit.
No. It was all of us working together as a team, which is always the best way. And he's the one who had the brilliance and the genius and the way of speaking. All we did was we were privileged and honored enough to help him.
Right. I know it was. It really was a lot of fun when you think about it. And it's really funny, Anthony. I don't know if you've gone back and looked at those recently, but if you look back at it, there's such a difference in Father from then to now, because back then he talked slower. Deliberate and slow. And now he's like the Energizer Bunny when he's giving a talk. He's
got a lot more to say now because of he's fighting for those babies. And so he's not taking his time. He's got that sense of urgency, and he wants to say as much as he can in as little possible time to get the job done as soon as possible.
That's right. So, Anthony, I want to thank you for joining me on this broadcast. And again, thank you for the inspiration you get to write so many beautiful books. I know my family, my grandchildren, they just kind of wait. When's Anthony coming out with another book? So I have to tell them there's more coming in the spring because they always love your books. All my family and friends. And again, brothers and sisters, if you want to get some copies, we can still get them out before Christmas. I know Christmas is 2 weeks from now, today. 2 weeks from today. So we can still get them out, prolifeproducts.org. So thank you for joining us, Anthony.
Thank you, Janet. Thanks for having me. You're the best.
All right. All right. God bless. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Well, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you, I mentioned the Feast of Our Lady Guadalupe. Well, tomorrow, obviously, is her feast. And our 10 a.m. Mass tomorrow, Father Pavone will be celebrating Mass, as he always does, here at endabortion.tv. And it's going to be a beautiful Mass in honor of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So tune in to endabortion.tv tomorrow for our 10 a.m. Our Lady of Guadalupe Mass. So once again, thank you for joining us for Just Ask Janet. Until next time, this is Janet Moreno signing off. God bless.